Iranian city that's been totally ravaged by a fast-spreading zombie-like plague. Okay, now shift gears for a second. Imagine a teenager using cutting-edge virtual reality to process the trauma of a devastating car crash. And finally, picture a sweeping cinematic adventure where an unlikely hero is battling a massive wither storm to literally save the world. People often leave comments asking us, can you make video about Minecraft story? Because honestly, to an outsider, these elements sound wildly disconnected. Like, what do they have to do with each other? But they are, in fact, brilliant storytelling facets of a game made entirely out of digital blocks. Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to completely unravel the Minecraft story paradox and discover how a game that is literally famous for having zero traditional linear plot has somehow become one of the most powerful narrative engines of our time.
Okay, so here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the myth of no story, decoding the deep dark, crafting your own adventure, official spin-offs and novels, and finally, we'll wrap up with the ultimate storytelling engine.
Let's jump right into Section 1, the myth of no story, uncovering narrative in a sandbox.
So, for years, Minecraft has carried this reputation, a myth, really, that it simply has no story. I mean, think about it. It just drops you into this vast, randomly generated world. You've got nothing but your bare hands and the clothes on your back. There are no glowing quest markers telling you where to go, no sweeping cinematic cutscenes, and definitely no talking heads giving you exposition. Which brings us to a really provocative question. How on earth do you tell a story with absolutely no plot? If there's no author dictating the events behind the scenes, is it all just a random collection of actions? Well, to answer this, we really need to shift our entire perspective on what a story actually is when we talk about interactive media. To wrap our heads around this, we have to look at a concept called ludonarrative. Now, I know, it sounds super academic, but it's actually pretty simple. It just means the narrative that is derived directly from the gameplay itself. Rather than a story being something that just pauses the game to happen to you, ludonarrative is the story that happens because of what you do. It's an absolutely crucial analytical lens we need if we want to understand how sandbox games actually speak to us.
Think about standard linear games. In those, you're basically a passenger, right? The story is just told to you. But in Minecraft, the story is experienced by you, through your own progression. Let's really think about that for a second. You start with absolutely nothing. You are literally punching a tree with your bare hands just to get wood. You build a sad little dirt hut just to survive the zombies and creepers on that terrifying first night. But then, over time, that dirt hut becomes a massive stone castle. You're eventually engineering these mind-blowing complex redstone machines and literally traveling across alternate dimensions. That progression, from absolute zero to becoming the master of your environment, that is the classic hero's journey, but it's written entirely through your gameplay.
Moving right along to Section 2, decoding the deep dark, environmental storytelling and mysteries.
But here's the thing, the ludonarrative, that is just the tip of the iceberg. Let's pivot a bit and explore the deeply embedded environmental storytelling hiding right beneath the surface of the overworld. Specifically, we're going to put on our digital archaeologist hats and decode the mysteries of the ancient city down in the deep dark biome. Because if you look closely at the blocks down there, this dark, almost true crime-style mystery really starts to unfold. The community's lore investigators have been hard at work, and they've pieced together terrifying evidence of what looks like an ancient pandemic. Look at the Skulk. It acts exactly like a spreading virus, creeping outward from that massive central portal. And throughout the city, there are countless graves, unlit candles everywhere, and even corrupted food in what looks like old storage areas. We're talking stews that literally inflict blindness if you eat them. Players have even found piles of wool that they theorize were used as mass cremation sites when the death toll just got too high. And the craziest part? Beneath the giant portal structure, there's a secret lab bunker with broken piston doors and shattered glass. It heavily implies this horrifying final breach and a really desperate last stand against that creeping Skulk infection. In fact, one Reddit loring investigator spent hours meticulously mapping out the city's decay, and they summarized the tragedy with this chilling conclusion. The end. A dark and quiet city for thousands of years. Wow. So, the absolute crucial takeaway here is that Mojang isn't just handing us a massive lore book to read. No, they are using literal block placement, creepy sound design, and game mechanics to heavily imply this massive, tragic history that we are just left to discover and interpret completely on our own.
All right, Section 3, crafting your own adventure. The player as the author.
So let's see how this builds from passive discovery to active creation. Because Minecraft is, at its very core, a blank canvas where the player actually becomes the author. The game isn't just about surviving the environment, it's about shaping it to tell your own stories. And honestly, you've probably used the game this way yourself at some point, building something that reflects your own life for your own imagination. The community takes this incredibly seriously too. Remember the Trails and Tales update? Mojang actually launched the hashtag #MinecraftYourStory campaign, which really amplified how players use the game for self-expression. You had creators like Stacy Plays hosting camp-friendly gatherings, essentially turning the game into this cozy virtual campfire space where people could share what inspires them. And then you have animators like Chaos Pumpkin, who use the game's unique aesthetic to chronicle their own personal life journeys and memories. The game literally becomes a shared language for real-world connection. It's pretty amazing.
And then, for those who want to build structured experiences for others to play, we have adventure maps. Players will literally spend hundreds of hours designing these things, and let me tell you, making a good one requires immense discipline. As outlined in community map-making guides, you have to define the core flow first. You have to ask who is playing this, what is the actual journey here. Then you build the environments, focusing heavily on contrast. Moving players from tight, dark corridors out into sweeping, bright vistas just to maintain visual interest. After that, you design the mechanics using command blocks. And critically, this is huge, you have to test for pacing, because intention is exactly what separates a random collection of pretty buildings from a highly curated, unforgettable story experience. And you know what's really cool? This storytelling potential even bleeds into the real world. Educators and parents are actively using Minecraft right now to inspire reluctant young writers. By dropping a student in front of a mysterious temple or a desert castle, or maybe placing their boat in the middle of a storm with rain on the water, they're providing this dynamic, totally immersive writing prompt. The student actually experiences the scenario visually and interactively first, which makes the transition to sitting down and writing about it vastly more engaging. It's a total game changer for learning.
Let's jump into Section 4. Official spin-offs and novels, expanding the universe.
This brings us to our third pillar. We've seen how players invent stories inside the game, but how do professional writers translate a plotless sandbox into structured, emotional media? Well, let's look at the official spin-offs and novels to see how they expand the universe. Take Telltale's Minecraft Story Mode, for example. The developers had this absolute monumental task, right? Create a narrative for a game with no narrative. And they brilliantly solved this by leaning directly into the ludonarrative we talked about earlier. They structured the plot around the monomyth, that classic zero-to-hero journey, and they made the actual act of crafting a narrative tool. In the game, crafting isn't just boring inventory management, it's literally how the characters solve problems, overcome obstacles, and express their ingenuity. It completely honors the true spirit of the source material. And when you look at the novels, you really see just how much emotional depth this franchise can reach. Take Tracy Baptiste's official novel, Minecraft: The Crash. It's heavy stuff. The story follows a young girl named Bianca who is in a terrible car accident. She's almost paralyzed and just racked with guilt over her injured best friend. So she uses this cutting-edge, neural-linked VR version of Minecraft to process her physical and emotional trauma. And get this, the mobs she fights in the game are literally generated by her real-world fears and insecurities.
Inside the game, Bianca and her friends adopt a specific methodology: prepare, plan, and power through. Educators have actually noted that this perfectly mirrors the real-world scientific method and the engineering design process. It goes way beyond just gaming. It actively shows how asserting control over a digital world can help someone reclaim control over their shattered reality in the real world. It's just a super powerful testament to the game's therapeutic and educational value.
And finally, Section 5, the ultimate storytelling engine, a blank canvas for everyone.
So, as we bring our thematic arc to a close today, let's step back and look at the big picture of what this all actually means. We started with the paradox of a game that famously has no plot, but as we've seen, it's actually supported by three massive storytelling pillars. First up, there's that dark, intricate, embedded environmental lore left for players to decode, like the terrifying tragedy of the ancient cities. Second, there are the player-crafted narratives, ranging from heartfelt community campaigns all the way to meticulously designed adventure maps. And third, there's the curated official media, proving without a doubt that the game's mechanics can anchor deeply emotional, highly structured novels and spin-offs.
At the end of the day, Minecraft doesn't lack a story. It just refuses to write the ending for you. It is arguably the ultimate storytelling engine, a true blank canvas that invites every single one of us to be the author. Which leaves us with just one final question to ask as we wrap up this explainer. With infinite blocks and infinite possibilities, what story are you going to build next?